You hit my son to death. I only have one son, Chunching. I only have one son. The best brother hit his only son to death. Chunching wanted to confess before the wedding, but was rejected by his wife. You killed Lu Qing. You ruined my son, miss, you go, remember, you owe our family a life. You killed Lu Qing, remember, you go now. Chunching left with guilt, and 66 years later, the feudal heritage of the Fugui box was naturally targeted by the township mayor, and there was no doubt that it turned into a mess. The township mayor found Feng Xiao a marriage. The man in the south is a worker in the city. The two sides arranged to meet. The old couple were very satisfied with the young man. Feng Xiao also hid in the house and secretly dressed up, but I didn't expect to receive the news the next day. Shuangxi took a group of people to tear down their house. The old couple rushed home, but found a big house. Shuangxi took people to rebuild the house. Seeing the children's silent voices, the old couple were happy. Soon they knocked Feng Xiao's marriage. After a grand wedding, Feng Xiao left her parents without hesitation, but soon Feng Xiao was pregnant. Shuangxi took Feng Xiao to congratulate the second child. Jiaozhen looked at the whole family, but she was missing her son Lu Qing. She made an appointment with Feng Xiao. Feng Xiao, wait for the baby to be born. Take care of him every year. That night, Chunching knocked on the door of the Fugui. He was identified as a self-abandoned. His wife chose to commit suicide. Chunching couldn't stand it, so he transferred all his savings to Fugui. He said it was to make up for Lu Qing's loss. Fugui persuaded him to think more. The dead were all out. He was afraid of these sufferings. Jiaozhen saw Chunching in a panic. Chunching, remember, you still owe our family a life. You have to live well. Feng Xiao's due date is approaching. But looking at the young nurses in the corridor, Jiaozhen was more worried. The hospital's experts and professors were locked in the cowshed for some reason. The rest of the half-grown children looked really embarrassed. Fugui suggested an old doctor to testify. Even if he stayed here, he could feel at ease. Shuangxi thought it made sense. He invited Professor Wang from the Department of Rehabilitation. Professor Wang was also tortured. He hadn't eaten for 3 days. He looked weak. Fugui bought him 7 steamed buns. Professor Wang was not afraid of being choked. He took the steamed buns and put them in his mouth. Jiaozhen saw Professor Wang eating sweetly, so she named the child Steamed Bun. She said it was to make a living. It seemed to respond to her grandma's expectations. The baby's crying was heard in the delivery room, but everyone was not happy. The bad news was heard in the delivery room after Feng Xiao's birth. He had a big hemorrhage. A group of nurses panicked. Why are you panicking? Think of a way. I have never dealt with students. I can't do it. Yes, Dr. Wang can't do it. He is a professor. He can do it. He must do it. But Professor Wang had no choice. The steamed buns were too hot. He couldn't lie on the ground and move. Feng Xiao died in her arms. In such despair, I can't do it. Feng Xiao. Many years later, Jiaozhen put the photos in front of the grave. According to the agreement with his daughter, they were all steamed buns. Each year, if it wasn't hot, Fugui would regret it. If it wasn't for the steamed buns, maybe Jiaozhen wouldn't have died. But life still needs to be thought. For the living, even the wooden box that was full of food was taken by Fugui to raise chickens for his grandson. When the chicken grew up, it became a goose. When the goose grew up, it became a sheep. When the sheep grew up, it became a cow. What about after the cow? After the cow, the steamed buns would grow up. I want to ride on the back of the cow.